Gotham City, and then you have the true, Prince of Evil. So seeing the two of them interact is going to be great. Next up, we're going to put up the cover to Batman Inc. number 7. Woo! You can imagine, for working for a company like DC, that we have no time leading up to a convention to do anything but prep work for the con. So as part of that, I actually was reading this thing I had bookmarked for a long time. It was this guy's really amazing essay online where he deconstructed the entire final episode of The Sopranos, and at least to me as a reader, proved definitively what happened in that episode. So much so that I felt like a blithering idiot for not having seen it all along. But as I was reading that, they had a quote in there from David Chase, talking about what he was trying to do in the series as a whole for you as viewers, and then how he felt about that final episode. And it really stood out to me, especially thinking about Batman Inc. And what Chase said was, I call what I create active watching. You need to bring every little piece of information you're given during the show to the watching of the entire thing. And then specifically about his finale, he said, hey, anybody who wants to watch it, it's all there. And it made me wonder, going into 2013, Grant, do you think that's a fair way to approach what's coming up in Batman Inc.?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you what's coming up because, obviously we're not part of the death of a family storyline, but we do have family stuff and there will be death. I'm kind of just digging right along. Yeah, I mean, this kind of is the genuine culmination of everything I've been doing Batman for 6 years, and it kind of really definitively wraps up the story we started in Batman and Son. And you guys can speculate on that any way you like, but this is the big finale for everything I set in motion in that story. So it's looking good. As you can see, Chris Barnum's just killing on this book. And, I think that's the cover from PlayStation 4 or 5. Which one is that? But yeah, this is the new generation of Gotham's youth. We've been clearly inspired by Damien to take matters into their own hands, and you'll see how that plays out. We're also going back to visit the Damien 666 future world, and playing out what's kind of, I think, the bleakest Batman story I've certainly ever written, ever. So that's quite fun. That's going to be in issue 5. And as I say, I'd love to tell you more about this stuff. There's things I've never done with Batman before, and we're finally getting a chance to do it in this final storyline, so I think everyone will be quite surprised with the way it plays out. Go, go!
Next up, I believe we're going to see the cover to Batman The Dark Knight, issue 15, from Greg and David.
Oh, shit.
Well, a lot of us up here have done a lot of panels, and the one thing when you do a Batman panel that's always the common motif is enthusiasm. I think it's because, for all of us, there's no character or family of characters that we'd rather be writing. And I think, as a fan and as a reader, these are the first books that I read, this table and the other ones that are out there every single month. These are the books that I want to get to first. And so it's always a thrill to do that, and it's a thrill to be up here, and I feel like we have the best readers in the world because you guys feel about this family of characters the same way that we do. You guys really, really supported the new big story that Finch and I started in 10, right? It was in 10, with the Scarecrow. And we've done a lot of perverse, twisted things. None of you held it against us too much. But Jonathan Crane, as a kid, his dad has been putting him down into that cellar beneath the office. And I will tell you that the next issue, we're going to go down there, and we're going to see what's down there in a 2-page spread by David that gave me insight into the twisted entrails that lay beneath that kind facade. It gets pretty crazy, and it's going to blow, this story, this arc is just going to blow Gotham wide open. It's a huge, huge opening, and the story just gets bigger and darker and enormously grand in its scope. And I'm really excited because I feel like there's been a lot of character work laid with the interplay between these two characters, and now all of a sudden it's just going to start to take off and expand, and each one almost starts to double. So there's this sort of exponential movement that's going to happen on the pacing and on the scale and the scope of it.
Yeah, for me, 15 is actually my last issue on Batman, so I'm really excited to have a piece of it. It started out as a really small story. It's kind of a character piece on the Scarecrow, and it really ends being something a lot bigger than I think people are great, man. I'm so glad that I got to do the story with you, Greg. It's been great. It's been a wonderful experience for me, so thank you.
So yeah, with David leaving, the book's being canceled, right, Greg? No, actually it's not. We announced earlier this week the new artist, and that is Mr. Ethan Van Sciver.
So there's a really big problem you have when David Finch leaves a book, because work with David, he's like a Ferrari of artists. And so it's hard when he leaves to try and find somebody that's going to replace him. Capullo, I think, was maybe, I mean, you have other projects going on too, you know. I mean, there's like an incredibly limited number of people that you can get to fill those shoes, especially in a book that was so closely defined with David and the kind of work and the level of work that he did. And there was a very limited pool, and something really funny happened that we were talking about that extremely short list of names, and I thought, the one guy who I want probably more than anybody else, not probably, the one guy I wanted more than anybody else was Ethan. And so I picked up the phone and I got his number and I called him, and I was prepared to do a whole, pitch and discussion and check everything and availability. And the first thing he said was, "Hey, I've been looking into you all morning because I heard that Finch is thinking about leaving the title." And it was one of those bizarre just coincidences that literally he was the guy who I had in mind for this arc, and I'm so excited. Some of the early work that he's doing